Act 1 of Medea. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Medea by Lucius Annaeus Seneca. Translated by Ella Isabel Harris. Dramatis Personae.
Medea, read by WendyKatzHiller.
Jason, read by Todd.
Creon, read by Mathias
Nurse, read by Elsie Selwyn.
Messenger, read by Stefan.
Chorus of Corinthian Women, read by Sonia.
Stage Directions, read by Alan Mapstone. Scene, Corinth. Act 1, Scene 1, Medea alone.
Ye gods of marriage, Lucina, guardian of the genial bed, Pallas, who taught the tamer of the seas to steer the Argo, stormy ocean's lord, Titan, dividing bright day to the world, and thou, three-formed Hecate, who dost shed thy conscious splendor on the hidden rites, ye by whom Jason plighted me his troth, and ye Medea rather should invoke. Chaos of night eternal, realm opposed to the celestial powers, abandoned souls, queen of the dusky realm, Persephone by better faith betrayed, you I invoke, but with no happy voice. Approach, avenging goddesses with snaky hair, holding in blood-stained hands your sulphurous torch. Come now, as horrible as when of yore you stood beside my marriage bed. Bring death to the new bride, and to the royal seed, and Creon. Worse for Jason I would ask, life. Let him roam in fear through unknown lands, an exile, hated, poor, without a home. A guest now too well known, let him in vain seek alien doors, and long for me, his wife. And yet a last revenge. Let him beget sons like their father, daughters like their mother. 'Tis done. Revenge is even now brought forth. I have borne sons to Jason. I complain vainly and cry aloud with useless words. Why do I not attack mine enemies? I will strike down the torches from their hands, the light from heaven. Does the sun see this, the author of our race, and still give light? And, sitting in his chariot, does he still run through the accustomed spaces of the sky, nor turn again to seek his rising place and measure back the day? Give me the reins. Father, let me in thy paternal car be borne aloft the winds, and let me curb with glowing bridle those thy fiery steeds. Burn, Corinth. Let the parted seas be joined. This still remains, for me to carry up the marriage torches to the bridal room, and, after sacrificial prayers, to slay the victims on their altars. Seek, my soul, if thou still livest, or if aught endures of ancient vigor, seek to find revenge through thine own bowels. Throw off woman's fears, entrench thyself in snowy Caucasus. All impious deeds Phasis or Pontus saw, Corinth shall see. evils unknown and wild, hideous, frightful both to earth and heaven disturb my soul. Wounds, and the scattered corpse, and murder. I remember gentle deeds. A maid did these. Let heavier anguish come, since sterner crimes befit me now, a wife. Gird thee with wrath, prepare thine utmost rage, that fame of thy divorce may spread as far as of thy marriage. Make no long delay. How dost thou leave thy husband? As thou camest. Home's crime built up, by crime must be dissolved.
Scene 2. Enter chorus of Corinthian women singing the marriage song of Jason and Creusa.
Be present at the royal marriage feast, ye gods who sway the sceptre of the deep, and ye who hold dominion in the heavens. With the glad people come, ye smiling gods. First to the sceptre-bearing thunderers the white-backed bull shall stoop his lofty head. The snowy heifer, knowing not the yoke, is due to fair Lucina, and to her who stays the bloody hand of Mars, and gives to warring nations peace, who in her horn holds plenty, sacrifice a victim wild. Thou who at lawful bridals dost preside, scattering darkness with thy happy hands, come hither with the slow step, dizzy with wine, binding thy temples with a rosy crown. Thou star that bringest in the day and night, slow rising on the lover, ardently for thy clear shining maids and matrons long. In comeliness the virgin bride excels the Athenian women, and the strong-limbed maids of Sparta's unwalled town, who on the top of high Taygetus try youthful sports, or those who in the clear Aeonian stream, or in Alpheus' sacred waters bathe. The child of the wild thunder, he who tames and fits the yoke to tigers, is less fair than the Ausonian prince, the glorious god who moves the tripod, Dian's brother mild, the skilful boxer Pollux, Castor too, must yield the palm to Jason. O ye gods who dwell in heaven, ever may the bride surpass all women, he excel all men. Before her beauty in the women's choir, the beauty of the other maids grows dim. So with the sunrise pales the light of stars. So when the moon with brightness not her own fills out her crescent horns, the Pleiads fade. Her cheeks blush like white cloth 'neath Tyrian dyes, or as the shepherd sees the light of stars grow rosy with the dawn. O happy one, accustomed once to clasp unwillingly a wife unloved and reckless, snatched away from that dread Colchian marriage, take thy bride, the Aeolian virgin, 'tis her father's will. Bright offspring of the thyrsus-bearing god, the time has come to light the torch of pine. With fingers dripping wine put out the fires, sound the gay music of the marriage song, let the crowd pass their jests. 'Tis only she who flies her home to wed a stranger guest need steal away into the silent dark.
End of Act 1. Act 2 of Medea. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Medea by Lucius Annaeus Seneca, translated by Ella Isabel Harris. Act 2, Scene 1. Medea, Nurse.
Alas, the wedding chorus strikes my ears. Now let me die. I could not hitherto believe, can hardly yet believe, such wrong. And this is Jason's deed? Of father, home, and kingdom reft, can he desert me now alone and in a foreign land? Can he despise my worth, who saw the flames and seas by my art conquered? Thinks perchance all crime exhausted? Tossed by every wave of doubt, I am distracted, seeking some revenge. Had he a brother's love? He has a bride. Through her be thrust the steel. Is this enough? If Grecian or barbarian cities know crime that this hand knows not, that crime be done. Thy sins return to mind, exhorting thee. The far-famed treasure of a kingdom lost? Thy little comrade, wicked maid, destroyed, torn limb from limb and scattered on the sea, an offering to his father. Peleus, old, killed in the boiling cauldron. I have shed blood often basely, but alas, alas, 'twas not in wrath. Unhappy love did all. Had Jason any choice by foreign law and foreign power constrained? He could have bared his breast to feel the sword. O bitter grief, speak milder words. Let Jason live. Mine as he was, if this be possible. But if not mine, still let him live secure, to spare me still the memory of my gift. The fault is Creon's. He abuses power to annul our marriage, sever strongest ties, and tear the children from their mother's breast. Let Creon pay the penalty he owes. I'll heap his home in ashes. The dark flame shall reach Malea's dreaded cape, where ships find passage only after long delay.
Be silent, I implore thee. Hide thy pain deep in thy bosom. He who quietly bears grievous wounds, with patience and a mind unshaken, may find healing. Hidden wrath finds strength, when open hatred loses hope of vengeance.
Light is grief that hides itself and can take counsel. Great wrongs lie not hid. I am resolved on action.
Foster child, restrain thy fury. Hardly art thou safe though silent.
Fortune tramples on the meek, but fears the brave.
This is no place to show that thou hast courage.
It can never be that courage should be out of place.
To thee and thy misfortune, hope points out no way.
The man who cannot hope despairs of naught.
Colchis is far away, thy husband lost. Of all thy riches nothing now remains.
Medea now remains. Here's land and sea, fire and sword, God and the thunderbolt.
The king is to be feared.
I claim a king for father.
Hast thou then no fear of arms?
I, who saw warriors spring from earth.
Thou'lt die.
I wish it.
Flee!
Nay, I repent of flight.
Thou art a mother.
And thou seest by whom.
Wilt thou not fly?
I fly, but first revenge.
Vengeance may follow thee.
I may perchance find means to hinder it.
Restrain thyself and cease to threaten madly. It is well that thou adjust thyself to fortune's change.
My riches, not my spirit, fortune takes. The hinge creaks. Who is this? Creon himself, swelling with Grecian pride.
Scene 2. Creon with attendants. Medea.
What? Is Medea of the hated race of Colchian Aeaces not yet gone? Still she is plotting evil. Well I know her guile, and well I know her cruel hand. Whom does she spare, or whom let rest secure? Verily I had thought to cut her off with the swift sword, but Jason's prayers availed to spare her life. She may go forth unharmed, if she will set our city free from fear. Threatening and fierce, she seeks to speak with us. Attendants, keep her off, bid her be still, and let her learn at last a king's commands must be obeyed. Go, haste, and take her hence.
What fault is punished by my banishment?
A woman innocent may ask, what fault?
If thou wilt judge, examine.
King's command, just or unjust, a king must be obeyed.
An unjust kingdom never long endures.
Go hence, seek Colchis.
Willingly I go. Let him who brought me hither take me hence.
Thy words come late. My edict has gone forth.
The man who judges, one side still unheard, were hardly a just judge, though he judge justly.
Pelias for listening to thee died, but speak, I may find time to hear so good a plea.
How hard it is to calm a wrathful soul. How he who takes the scepter in proud hands deems his own will sufficient. I have learned it in my father's royal house. For though the sport of fortune, suppliant, banished, alone, forsaken on all sides, distressed, my father was a noble king. I am descended from the glorious sun. What lands the Phasis in its winding course bathes, or the Euxine touches where the sea is freshened by the water from the swamps, or where armed maiden cohorts try their skill beside Thermodon, all these lands are held within my father's kingdom, where I dwelt noble and happy and with princely power. He whom kings seek sought then to wed with me. Swift fickle fortune cast me headlong forth and gave me exile. Put thy trust in thrones, such trust as thou mayest put in what light chance flings here and there at will. Kings have one power, a matchless honor time can never take, to help the wretched, and to him who asks to give a safe retreat. This I have brought from Colchis. This at least I still can claim. I saved the flower of Grecian chivalry, Achaean chiefs, the offspring of the gods. It is to me they owe their Orpheus, who singing melted rocks and drew the trees. Castor and Pollux are my twofold gift. Boreas' sons and Lynceus, whose sharp eye could pierce beyond the Euxine, are my gift, and all the Argonauts. Of one alone, the chief of chiefs, I do not speak. For him thou owest me naught. Those I have saved for thee. This one is mine. Rehearse now all my crime. Accuse me. I confess. This is my fault. I saved the Argo. Had I heard the voice of maiden modesty or filial love, Greece and her leaders had regretted it, and he, thy son-in-law, had fallen first a victim to the fire-belching bull. Let fortune trample on me as she will. My hand has succored princes. I am glad. Assign the recompense for these my deeds. Condemn me, if thou wilt, but tell the fault. Creon, I own my guilt, guilt known to thee when first a suppliant I touched thy knees, and asked with outstretched hands protecting aid. Again, I ask a refuge, some poor spot for misery to hide in. grant a place withdrawn, a safe asylum in thy realm if I must leave the city.
I am no prince who rules with cruel sway, or tramples on the wretched with proud foot. Have I not shown this true by choosing him to be my son-in-law, who is a man exiled without resource in fear of foes? One whom Acastus, king of Thessaly, seeks to destroy, that so he may avenge a father weak with age, bowed down with years, whose limbs were torn asunder? That foul crime his wicked sisters impiously dared, tempted by thee. If thou wouldst say the deed was Jason's, he can prove his innocence. No guiltless blood has stained him, and his hands touched not the sword, are yet unstained by thee. Foul instigator of all evil deeds, with woman's wantonness in daring aught, and man's courageous heart, and void of shame, go purge our kingdom, take thy deadly herbs, free us from fear, dwelling in other lands afar, invoke the gods.
Thou bidst me go. Give back the ship and comrade of my flight. Why bid me go alone? Not so I came. If thou fear war, both should go forth, nor choice be made between two equally at fault. That old man fell for Jason's sake. Impute to Jason flight, rapine, a brother slain, and a deserted father, not all mine the crimes to which a husband tempted me. 'Tis true I sinned, but never for myself.
Thou shouldst be gone. Why waste the time with words?
I go, but going make one last request. Let not a mother's guilt drag down her sons.
Go, as a father I will succor them, and with a father's care.
By future hopes, by the king's happy marriage, by the strength of thrones which fickle fortune sometimes shakes, I pray thee, grant the exile some delay, that she, perchance about to die, may press a last kiss on her children's lips.
Thou seekst time to commit new crime.
In so brief a time, what crime were possible?
No time too short for him who would do ill.
Dost thou deny to misery short space for tears?
Deep dread warns me against thy prayer, yet I will grant one day in which thou mayst prepare for flight.
Too great the favour. Of the time allowed, something withdraw. I would depart in haste.
Before the coming day is ushered in, by Phoebus leave the city or thou diest. The bridal calls me, and I go to pay my vows to Hymen.
Scene 3. Chorus.
He rashly ventured who was first to make in his frail boat a pathway through the deep, who saw his native land behind him fade in distance blue, who to the raging winds trusted his life, his slender keel between the paths of life and death. Our fathers dwelt in an unspotted age, and on the shore where each was born he lived in quietness, grew old upon his father's farm content. With little rich, he knew no other wealth than his own land afforded. None knew yet the changing constellations, nor could use as guides the stars that paint the ether. None had learned to shun the rainy Hyades, the goat or northern wain that follows slow by old Boötes driven. None had yet to Boreas or Zephyr given names. Rash Typhus was the first to tempt the deep with spreading canvas, for the winds to write new laws, to furl the sail or spread it wide when sailors longed to fly before the gale, and the red topsail fluttered in the breeze. The world, so wisely severed by the seas, the pine of Thessaly united, bade the distant waters bring us unknown fears. The cursed leader paid hard penalty when the two cliffs, the gateway of the sea, moved as though smitten by the thunderbolt, and the imprisoned waters smote the stars. Bold Typhus paled, and from his trembling hand let fall the rudder. Orpheus' music died, his lyre untouched. The Argo lost her voice. When, belted by her girdle of wild dogs, the maid of the Sicilian straits gives voice from all her mouth, who fears not at her bark? Who does not tremble at the witching song with which the Sirens calm the Ausonian sea? The Thracian Orpheus' lyre had almost forced those hinderers of ships to follow him. What was the journey's price? The golden fleece, Medea, fiercer than the raging sea, worthy reward for those first mariners. The sea forgets its former wrath, submits to the new laws, and not alone the ship Minerva builded, manned by sons of kings, finds rowers. Other ships may sail the deep. Old meads are moved, new city walls spring up on distant soil, and nothing now remains as it has been. The cold Araxes stream the Indian drinks, the Persian quaffs the Rhine, and the times come with the slow rolling years when ocean shall strike off the chains from earth, and a great world be opened. Typhis then, another Typhis, shall win other lands, and Thule cease to be earth's utmost bound.
End of Act 2. Act 3 of Medea. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Medea by Lucius Annaeus Seneca, translated by Ella Isabel Harris. Act 3, Scene 1, Medea, Nurse.
Stay, foster child, why fly so swiftly hence? Restrain thy wrath, curb thy impetuous haste. As a Bacchanant, frantic with the god and filled with rage divine, uncertain walks the top of snowy Pindus or the peak of Nyssa, so Medea wildly goes hither and thither, on her cheek the stain of bitter tears, her visage flushed, her breast shaken by sobs. She cries aloud, her eyes are drowned in scalding tears. Again she laughs, all passions surge within her soul. She stays her steps, she threatens, makes complaint, weeps, groans. Where will she fling the burden of her soul? Where wreak her vengeance? Where will break this wave of fury? Passion overflows. She plans no easy crime, no ordinary deed. She conquers self. I recognize old signs of raging. Something terrible she plans, some deed inhuman, devilish, and wild. Ye gods, avert the horrors I foresee.
Dost thou seek how to show thy hate, poor wretch? Imitate love. And must I then endure without revenge the royal marriage torch? Shall this day prove unfruitful, sought and gained only by earnest effort? While the earth hangs free within the heavens, while the vault of heaven sweeps round the earth with changeless change, while the sands lie unnumbered, while the day follows the sun, the night brings up the stars, Arcturus never wet in ocean's wave rolls round the pole, while the rivers seaward flow, my hate shall never cease to seek revenge. Did ever fierceness of a ravening beast, or Scylla, or Charybdis sucking down the waters of the wild Ausonian and the Sicilian seas, or Aetna fierce that holds imprisoned great Enceladus, breathing forth flame, so glow as I with threats? Not the swift rivers nor the force of flame by storm wind fanned can imitate my wrath. I will overthrow and bring to naught the world. Does Jason fear the king? Thessalian war? True love fears nothing. He was forced to yield. Unwillingly he gave his hand. but still he might have sought his wife for one farewell. This, too, he feared to do. He might have gained from Creon some delay of banishment. 1 day is granted for my 2 sons' sake. I do not make complaint of too short time. It is enough for much. This day shall see what none shall ever hide. I will attack the very gods and shake the universe.
Lady, thy spirit so disturbed by ills, restrain, and let thy storm-tossed soul find rest.
Rest I can never find until I see all dragged with me to ruin. All shall fall when I do, so to share one's woe is joy.
Think what thou hast to fear if thou persist. No one can safely fight with princely power.
Scene 2. The nurse withdraws. Enter Jason.
The lot is ever hard. Bitter is fate. Equally bitter if it slay or spare. God gives us remedies worse than our ills. Would I keep faith with her, I deem my wife I must expect to die. Would I shun death, I must forswear myself. Not fear of death has conquered honor. Love has cast out fear, in that the father's death involves the son's. Ah, holy justice, if thou dwell in heaven, I call on thee to witness that the sons vanquish their father. Say the mother's love is fierce and spurns the yoke, she still will deem her children of more worth than marriage joys. My mind is fixed. I go to her with prayers. She starts at sight of me. Her look grows wild. Hatred she shows, and grief.
Jason, I flee. I flee. It is not new to change my home. The cause of banishment alone is new. I have been exiled hitherto for thee. I go, as thou compell'st me, from my home. But whither shall I go? Shall I perhaps seek Phasis, Colchis, and my father's realm, whose soil is watered by a brother's blood? What land dost thou command me seek? What sea? The Euxin's jaws through which I led that band of noble princes when I followed thee? Adulterer? Through the Symplegades? Little Iolcus? Tempe? Thessaly? Whatever way I opened up for thee, I closed against myself. Where shall I go? Thou drivest into exile, but hast given no place of banishment. I will go hence. The king, Creus's father, bids me go, and I will do his bidding. Heap on me most dreadful punishment. It is my due. With cruel penalties let royal wrath pursue thy mistress. Load my hands with chains, and in a dungeon of eternal night imprison me. 'Tis less than I deserve. Ungrateful one, recall the fiery bull, the earth-born soldiers who at my command slew one another, and the golden fleece of Phrixus' ram, whose watchful guardian, the sleepless dragon, at my bidding slept. The brother slain. The many, many crimes by one crime gathered. Think how, led by me deceived, that old man's daughters dared to slay their aged father, dead for aye. By thy hearth's safety, by thy children's weal, by the slain dragon, by these blood-stained hands I never spared from doing aught for thee. By thy past fears, and by the sea and sky witness of our marriage, pity me. O happy one, give me some recompense. Of all the ravished gold the Scythians brought from far as India's burning plains, wealth our wide palace hardly could contain, so that we hung our groves with gold. I took nothing. My brother only bore I thence, and him for thee I sacrificed. I left my country, father, brother, maiden shame. This was my marriage portion. Give her own to her who goes an exile.
When angry Creon thought to have thee slain, urged by my prayers, he gave thee banishment.
I looked for a reward. The gift I see is exile.
While thou mayst fly, fly in haste. The wrath of kings is ever hard to bear.
Thou givest me such advice because thou lovest Creusa, wouldst divorce a hated wife.
And does Medea taunt me with my loves?
More, treacheries and murders.
Canst thou charge such sins to me?
All I have ever done.
It only needs that I should share the guilt of these thy crimes.
Thine are they, thine alone. He is the criminal who reaps the fruit. Though all should brand thy wife with infamy, thou shouldst defend and call her innocent. She who has sinned for thee, toward thee, is pure.
To me, my life is an unwelcome gift, of which I am ashamed.
Who is ashamed to owe his life to me can lay it down.
For thy son's sake, control thy fiery heart.
I will have none of them. I cast them off, abjure them. Shall Creusa to my sons give brothers?
To an exile's wretched sons, a mighty queen will give them.
Never come that evil day that mingles a great race with race unworthy. Phoebus's glorious sons with sons of Sisyphus.
What, cruel one? Wouldst thou drag both to banishment? Away!
Creon has heard my prayer.
What can I do?
For me, some crime, perhaps.
A prince's wrath is here and there.
Medea's wrath more fierce. Let us essay our power. The victor's prize be Jason.
Passion weary, I depart. Fear thou to trust a fate too often tried.
Fortune has ever served me faithfully.
Acastus comes.
Creon's a nearer foe, but both shall fall. Medea does not ask that thou shouldst arm thyself against the king, or soil thy hands with murder of thy kin. Fly with me, innocent.
Who will oppose if double war ensue, and the two kings join forces?
Add to them the Colchian troops, and King Aeetes, Scythian hosts, and Greeks. Medea conquers them.
I greatly fear a scepter's power.
Do not covet it.
We must cut short our converse, lest it breed suspicion.
Now, from high Olympus send thy thunder, Jupiter. Stretch forth thy hand, prepare thy lightning. From the riven clouds make the world tremble, nor with careful hand spare him or me. Whichever of us dies, dies guilty. Thy avenging thunderbolt cannot mistake the victim.
Try to speak more sanely. Calm thyself. If aught can aid thy flight from Creon's house, thou needst but ask.
My soul is strong enough, and wont to scorn the wealth of kings. This boon alone I crave, to take my children with me when I go. Into their bosoms I would shed my tears. New sons are thine.
Would I might grant thy prayer, paternal love forbids me. Creon's self could not compel me to it. They alone lighten the sorrow of a grief-parched soul. For them I live. I sooner would resign breath, members, light.
Medea aside.
'Tis well. He loves his sons. This, then, the place where he may feel a wound.
To Jason.
Before I go, thou wilt at least permit that I should give my sons a last farewell, a last embrace. But one thing more I ask. If in my grief I've poured forth threatening words, retain them not in mind. Let memory hold only my softer speech. My words of wrath obliterate.
I have erased them all from my remembrance. I would counsel thee, be calm, act gently. Calmness quiets pain.
Exit Jason. Scene 3. Medea, nurse.
He's gone. And can it be he leaves me so, forgetting me and all my guilt? Forgot? Nay, never shall Medea be forgot. Up, act, call all thy power to aid thee now. This fruit of crime is thine, to shun no crime. Deceit is useless, so they fear my guile. Strike where they do not dream thou canst be feared. Medea, haste, be bold to undertake the possible, yea, that which is not so. Thou faithful nurse, companion of my griefs and varying fortunes, aid my wretched plans. I have a robe, gift of the heavenly powers, an ornament of a king's palace, given by Phoebus to my father as a pledge of sonship, and a necklace of wrought gold, and a bright diadem inlaid with gems, with which they used to bind my hair. These gifts, endued with poison by my magic arts, my sons shall carry for me to the bride. Pay vows to Hecate, bring the sacrifice, set up the altars. Let the mounting flame envelop all the house.
Scene 4. Chorus.
Fear not the power of flame, nor swelling gale, nor hurtling dart, nor cloudy wane that brings the winter storms. Fear not when Danube sweeps unchecked between its widely severed shores, nor when the Rhone hastes seaward and the sun has broken up the snow upon the hills and Hermes flows in rivers. A wife deserted, loving while she hates, fear greatly. Blindly burns her anger's flame, for kings she cares not, will not bear the curb. Ye gods, we ask your grace divine for him who safely crossed the seas. The ocean's lord is angry for his conquered kingdom's sake. Spare Jason, we entreat. The impetuous youth who dared to drive the car of Phoebus, keeping not the wonted course, died in the furious fires himself had lit. Few are the evils of the well-known way. Seek the old paths your fathers safely trod. The sacred federations of the world keep still inviolate. The men who dipped the oars of that brave ship, who plundered of their shade the sacred groves of Pelion, passed between the unstable cliffs, endured so many hardships on the deep, and cast their anchor on a savage coast, passing again with ravaged foreign gold, atoned with fearful death upon the sea for violated law. The angry deep demanded punishment. Typhus to an unskilful pilot left the rudder. On a foreign coast he fell, far from his father's kingdom, and he lies with nameless shades under a lowly tomb. Becalmed in her still harbour all is held the impatient ships, remembering in wrath the king that she lost thence. The fair Camina's son, who touched his lyre so sweetly that the floods stood still, the winds were silent, and the birds forgot to sing, and forests followed him, on Thracian fields lies dead, his head borne down by Hebrus' stream. He touched again the Styx and Tartarus, but not again returns. Alcides overthrew the North Wind's sons. He slew that son of Neptune who could take unnumbered forms, but after he had made peace between land and sea, and opened wide the realm of Dis, lying on Oeta's top, he gave his body to the cruel fire, destroyed by his wife's gift, the fatal robe, poisoned with Centaur's blood. Anchius fell a victim to the boar of Caledonia. Meleager slew his mother's brother, stained his hands with blood of his own mother. They have merited their lot, but what the crime that he atoned by death whom Hercules long sought in vain, the tender Hylas, drawn beneath safe waves? Go now, brave soldiers, boldly plough the main, but fear the gentle streams. Idmon the serpents buried in the sands of Libya, though he knew the future well. Mopsus, to others true, false to himself, fell far from Thebes, and he who tried to burn the crafty Greeks fell headlong to the deep. Such death was meet for crime. Oileus, smitten by the thunderbolt, died on the ocean, and Phyreus' wife fell for her husband, so averting fate. He who commanded that the golden spoil be carried to the ships had travelled far, but plunged in seething cauldron Peleus died in narrow limits. 'Tis enough, ye gods, ye have avenged the sea.
End of Act 3. Act 4 of Medea. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Medea by Lucius Annaeus Seneca, translated by Ella Isabel Harris. Act 4, Scene 1, Nurse.
I shrink with horror. Ruin threatens us. How terribly her wrath inflames itself. Her former force awakes. Thus I have seen Medea raging and attacking God, compelling heaven. Greater crime than then she now prepares, for as with frantic step she sought the sanctuary of her crimes, she poured forth all her threats, and what before she feared she now brings forth, lets loose a host of poisonous evils, arts mysterious, with sad left hand outstretched, invokes all ills that Libyan sands with their fierce heat create, or frost-bound Taurus with perpetual snow encompasses. Drawn by her magic spell, the serpent drags his heavy length along, darts his forked tongue, and seeks his destined prey. Hearing her incantation, he draws back and knots his swelling body, coiling it. They are but feeble poisons earth brings forth, and harmless darts, she says. Heaven's ills I seek. Now is the time for deeper sorcery. The dragon like a torrent shall descend, whose mighty folds the great and lesser bear know well. Ophiuchus shall lose his grasp, and poison flow. Be present at my call, Python, who dared to fight twin deities. The Hydra slain by Hercules shall come healed of his wound. Thou watchful Colchian one, be present with the rest. Thou, who first slept, lulled by my incantations. When the brood of serpents has been called, she blends the juice of poisonous herbs. All Eric's pathless heights bare, or the open top of Caucasus, wet with Prometheus's blood, where winter reigns. All that the rich Arabians use to tip their poisoned shafts, or the light Parthians, or warlike Medes. All the brave Suebians cull in the Hyrcanian forests and the north. All poisons that the earth brings forth in spring, when birds are nesting, or when winter cold has torn away the beauty of the groves and bound the world in icy manacles. Whatever herb gives flower the cause of death, or juice of twisted root, her hands have called. These on Thessalian Athos grew, and those on mighty Pindus. On Pangaeus' height she cut the tender herbs with bloody scythe. These Tigris nurtured with its current deep, the Danube those, Hydaspes rich in gems, flowing with current warm, through levels dry, Bytus that gives its name to neighboring lands, and meets the western ocean languidly, having nurtured these. Those have been cut at dawn. These other herbs at dead of night were reaped, and these were gathered with the enchanted hook. Death-dealing plants she chooses, wrings the blood of serpents, and she takes ill-omened birds. The sad owl's heart, the quivering entrails cut from the horned owl living, sorts all these. And some the eager force of flame is found, and some the bitter cold of sluggish ice. To these she adds the venom of her words, as greatly to be feared. She stamps her feet, she sings, and the world trembles at her song.
Scene 2. Medea before the altar of Hecate.
Here I invoke you, silent company. Infernal gods, blind chaos, sunless home of shadowy Dis, and squalid caves of death, bound by the banks of Tartarus. Lost souls, for this new bridal leave your wonted toil. Stand still, thou whirling wheel, Ixian touch again firm ground. Come, Tantalus, and drink unchecked the wave of the Pyrenean fount. Let heavier punishment on Creon wait. Thou stone of Sisyphus worn smooth, roll back, and ye Danaïdes who strive in vain to fill your leaking jars, I need your aid. Come at my invocation, star of night, endued with form most horrible, nor threat with single face, thou three-formed deity. To thee, according to my country's use, with hair unfilleted and naked feet, I've trod the sacred groves, called forth the rain from cloudless skies, have driven back the sea, and forced the ocean to withdraw its waves. Earth sees heaven's laws confused, the sun and stars shining together, and the two bears wet in the forbidden ocean. I have changed the circle of the seasons. At my word, earth flourishes with summer. Ceres sees a winter harvest. Phasis' rushing stream flows to its source. The Danube, that divides into so many mouths, restrains its flood of waters, hardly moving past its shores. The winds are silent, but the waters speak. The wild seas roar, the home of ancient groves loses its leafy shade. The day withdraws at my command. The sun stands still in heaven. My incantations move the Hyades. It is thy hour, Diana. For thee my bloody hands have wrought this crown 9 times by serpents girt. Those knotted snakes rebellious Typhon bore, who made revolt against Jove's kingdom. Nessus gave this blood when dying. Oeta's funeral pyre provides these ashes which have drunk the poisoned blood of dying Hercules. And here thou seest Althea's vengeful brand. The Harpies left these feathers in the pathless den they made a refuge when they fled from Zetes' wrath. And these were dropped by the Stymphalian birds that felt the wound of arrows dipped in blood of the Lernaean Hydra. The altars find a voice. The tripod moves, stirred by the favoring goddess. Her swift car I see approach, not the full-orbed that rolls all night through heaven, but as, with darkened light, troubled by the Thessalians she comes. So her sad face upon my altars sheds a murky light. Terrify with new dread the men of earth. Costly Corinthian brass sounds in thy honor, Hecate, and on ground made red with blood I pay these solemn rites to thee. For thee have stolen from the tomb this torch that gives its baleful funeral light. To thee with bowed head I have made my prayer, and in accordance with my country's use. My loose hair filleted have plucked for thee this branch that grows beside the Stygian wave, like a wild Maenad, laying bare my breast. With sacred knife I cut for thee my arm. My blood is on the altars. Hand, learn well to strike thy dearest. See, my blood flows forth. Daughter of Perseus, have I asked too oft thine aid? Recall no more my former prayers. Today, as always, I invoke thine aid for Jason's sake alone. Endue this robe with such a baleful power that the bride may feel at its first touch consuming fire of serpent's poison in her inmost veins. Let fire lurk hid in the bright gold, the fire Prometheus gave and taught men how to store. He now atones his daring theft from heaven with tortured vitals. Mulciber has given this flame, and I in sulphur nurtured it. I brought a spark from the destroying fire of Phaeton. I have the flame breathed forth by the Chimera, and the fire I snatched from Colchis' savage bull, and mixed with these Medusa's venom. I have bade all serve my secret sorcery. Now, Hecate, add the sting of poison. Aid the seeds of flame hid in my gift. Let them deceive the sight, but burn the touch. Let the heat penetrate her very heart and veins, stiffen her limbs, consume her bones in smoke. Her burning hair shall glow more brightly than the nuptial torch. My vows are paid, and Hecate thrice has barked and shaken fire from her funeral torch. 'Tis finished. Call my sons, my precious gifts. Ye shall be borne by them to the new bride. Go, go, my sons, a hapless mother's sons. Placate with gifts and prayers your father's wife. But come again with speed, that I may know a last embrace.
Scene 3, Chorus.
Where hastes the blood-stained Maenad, headlong driven by angry love? What mischief plots her rage? With wrath her face grows rigid, her proud head she fiercely shakes, threatens the king in wrath. Who would believe her exiled from the realm? Her cheeks glow crimson, pallor puts to flight the red, no colour lingers on her face. Her steps are driven to and fro, as when a tiger rages, of its young bereft, beside the Ganges in the gloomy woods. Medea knows not how to curb her love or hate. Now love and hate together rage. When will she leave the fair Pelasgian fields, the wicked Colchian one, and free from fear our king and kingdom? Drive with no slow rein thy car, Diana. Let the sweet night hide the sunlight. Hesperus, end the dreaded day.
End of Act 4. Act 5 of Medea. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Medea by Lucius Annaeus Seneca. Translated by Ella Isabel Harris. Act 5, Scene 1. Messenger, Chorus. Messenger enters in haste.
All are destroyed. The royal empire falls. Father and child lie in one funeral pyre.
Destroyed by what deceit?
That which is wont to ruin princes, gifts.
Could these work harm?
I myself wonder, and can hardly deem the wrong accomplished, though I know it done.
How did it happen?
A destructive fire spreads everywhere as at command. Even now the city is in fear, the palace burned.
Let water quench the flames.
It will not these, as by miracle floods feed the fire. The more we fight it, so much more it glows.
Scene 2. Medea, Nurse.
Up, up, Medea, swiftly flee the land of Pelops. Seek in haste a distant shore.
Shall I fly? I. Were I already gone, I would return for this, that I might see these new betrothals. Dost thou pause, my soul? This joy's but the beginning of revenge. Thou dost but love if thou art satisfied to widow Jason. Seek new penalties. Honor is gone, and maiden modesty. It were a light revenge pure hands could yield. Strengthen thy drooping spirit. Stir up wrath, drain from thy heart its all of ancient force. Thy deeds till now call honor. Wake and act, that they may see how light, how little worth all former crime, the prelude of revenge. What was there great my novice hands could dare? What was the madness of my girlhood days? I am Medea now, through sorrow strong. Rejoice, because through thee thy brother died. Rejoice, because through thee his limbs were torn. Through thee thy father lost the golden fleece. Rejoice, that armed by thee his daughter slew old Peleus. Seek revenge. No novice hand thou bringst to crime. What wilt thou do? What dart let fly against thy hated enemy? I know not what my maddened spirit plots, nor yet dare I confess it to myself. In folly I made haste. Would that my foe had children by this other. Mine are his. We'll say Creus bore them, 'tis enough. Through them my heart at last finds full revenge. My soul must be prepared for this last crime. Ye who were once my children, mine no more. Ye pay the forfeit for your father's crimes. Awe strikes my spirit and benumbs my hand. My heart beats wildly. Mother love drives out hate of my husband. Shall I shed their blood? My children's blood? Demented one, rage not, be far from thee this crime. What guilt is theirs? Is Jason not their father? Guilt enough. And worse, Medea claims them as her sons. They are not sons of mine, so let them die. Nay, rather let them perish, since they are. But they are innocent. My brother was. Fearest thou? Do tears already mar thy cheek? Do wrath and love like adverse tides impel now here, now there, as when the winds wage war, and the wild waves against each other smite? My heart is beaten. Duty drives out fear as wrath drives duty. Anger dies in love. Dear sons, sole solace of a storm-tossed house, come hither. He may have you safe, if I may claim you too. But he has banished me. Already from my bosom torn away they go lamenting. Perish then to both, to him as me. My wrath again grows hot. Furies, I go wherever you may lead. Would that the children of the haughty child of Tantalus were mine, that I had borne twice 7 sons. In bearing only 2, I have been cursed. And yet, it is enough for father, brother, that I have borne 2. Where does that horde of furies haste? Whom seek? For whom prepare their fires? Or for whom intends the infernal band its bloody torch? Whom does Megara seek with hostile brand? The mighty dragon lashes its fierce tail. What shade uncertain brings its scattered limbs? It is my brother, and he seeks revenge. I grant it. Thrust the torches in my eyes. Kill, burn, the Furies have me in their power. Brother, command the avenging goddesses to leave me, and the shades to seek their place in the infernal regions without fear. Here, leave me to myself, and use this hand that held the sword. Your soul has found revenge.
Kills one of her sons.
What is the sudden noise? They come in arms, and think to drive me into banishment. I will go up on the high roof. Come thou. I'll take the body with me. Now, my soul, strike! Hold not hid thy power, but show the world what thou art able.
She goes out with the nurse and the living boy, and carries with her the body of her dead son. Scene 3. Jason in the foreground. Medea with the children appears upon the roof.
Ye faithful ones, who share in the misfortunes of your harassed king, hasten to take the author of these deeds. Come hither, hither, cohorts of brave men. Bring up your weapons, overthrow the house.
I have recaptured now my crown and throne, my brother and my father. Colchians hold the golden fleece. My kingdom is won back. My lost virginity returns to me. O gods appeased, marriage and happy days go now. My vengeance is complete. Not yet. Finish it while thy hands are strong to strike. Why seek delay? Why hesitate, my soul? Thou art able. All thine anger falls to naught. I do repent of that which I have done. Why didst thou do it, miserable one? Yea, miserable. Ruth shall follow thee. 'Tis done. Great joy fills my unwilling heart, and lo, the joy increases. But one thing before was lacking. Jason did not see. All that he has not seen I count as lost.
She threatens from the roof. Let fire be brought, that she may perish burned with her own flame.
Pile high the funeral pyre of thy sons, and rear their tomb. To Creon and thy wife I have already paid the honors due. This son is dead, and this shall soon be so, and thou shalt see him perish.
By the gods, by our sad flight together, and the bond I have not willingly forsaken, spare our son. If there is any crime, 'tis mine. Put me to death, strike down the guilty one.
There, where thou askest mercy, and canst feel the sting, I thrust the sword. Go, Jason, seek thy virgin bride, desert a mother's bed.
Let one suffice for vengeance.
Had it been that one could satisfy my hands with blood, I had slain none. But two is not enough.
Then go, fill up the measure of thy crime. I ask for nothing but that thou shouldst make a speedy end.
Now, grief, take slow revenge. It is my day. Haste not, let me enjoy.
Kills the other child.
Slay me, mine enemy.
Dost thou implore my pity? It is well. I am avenged. Grief, there is nothing more that thou canst slay. Look up, ungrateful Jason. Recognize thy wife, so I am wont to flee. The way lies open through the skies. Two dragons bend their necks, submissive to the yoke. I go in my bright car through heaven. Take thy sons.
She casts down to him the bodies of her children, and is borne away in a chariot drawn by dragons.
Go through the sky sublime, and going, prove that the gods dwell not in the heavens you seek.
End of Act 5. End of Medea by Lucius Annaeus Seneca, translated by Ella Isabel Harris.